Think back, if you would, to the last time you set a massive, life altering goal. Maybe it was New Year's Eve. You know the feeling. The clock strikes midnight and you get that sudden, intoxicating burst of motivation. You tell yourself, okay, this is it. I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. I'm working out every single day, reading a book a week, and I'm completely overhauling my diet. You actually feel a rush of adrenaline. You're genuinely ready to change your life. But then, what happens? Well, if you're like most of humanity, a few weeks later, that grand vision kind of just quietly fades away, leaving you right back exactly where you started. In this explainer, we're going to unravel the hidden, almost magical science of why that happens, and more importantly, how to actually fix it. We all know that heavy, familiar feeling of failure, don't we? It's that quiet guilt of looking at the totally unused gym key tag hanging on your keychain. It's the strict diet you completely abandoned by mid-February. Or that language learning app that just keeps sending you push notifications you eventually just swipe away without even opening. We so often internalize this as a deep personal defect. We sit there and think to ourselves, man, I just don't have enough willpower, or I'm just naturally lazy. But what if the problem isn't you at all? What if the problem is the strategy you've been sold your entire life? You see, society falsely conditions us to believe that massive success demands massive action. We watch these movies where the hero undergoes some grueling training montage and just completely transforms overnight. We see the highlighted end result successes of elite athletes and billionaire entrepreneurs, and we mistakenly believe that their achievement was born out of a few exhausting leaps of sheer willpower. We literally buy into the myth that if we want to change our lives, we have to flip the table and start over from scratch tomorrow. But here's the truth. Relying on willpower is exactly like relying on your phone battery when you don't have a charger. It depletes, it drains, and eventually, the screen goes black. Section 1. The Math of 1%. Instead of massive action, we really need to look at the invisible math of tiny improvements. This is a profound concept mapped out brilliantly in James Clear's work on atomic habits. The core idea here isn't about setting bigger goals. It's about making changes so small they seem completely insignificant in the moment. But wait until you see the startling mathematical truth hiding behind those tiny choices. If you can get just 1% better at something each day for 1 year, you don't just end up a little bit better. The math compounds. By the end of 365 days, you're going to be nearly 38 times better than when you started. 37.78 times, to be exact. Conversely, if you get 1% worse each day for a year, you decline almost all the way down to zero. What starts as a tiny win or a minor setback inevitably accumulates into something absolutely massive. We need to frame our daily routines not as these isolated, annoying chores, but as a compounding financial investment in our future selves. Just like money multiplies exponentially through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. Now, on any given day, doing 15 minutes of yoga or saving $10, it doesn't feel like a life-changing event. You don't look in the mirror the next morning and see a totally new person. But over a decade, those identical, seemingly invisible daily choices create a massive chasm between who you are today and who you could have been. Section 2. Rewiring your core identity. To truly harness all that compound interest, we have to transition into the psychology of habit formation. Most people approach habits by focusing purely on what they want to achieve, the outcome. But the secret to long-lasting change, it requires a fundamental emotional shift. We have to stop obsessing over what we want to achieve and start focusing on who we wish to become. Let me give you an example. Imagine two people trying to quit smoking, and they're both offered a cigarette. The first person says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." I mean, it sounds completely reasonable, right? But deep down, they still believe they are a smoker who is merely trying to be something else. They're hoping their behavior will change while carrying around those exact same old beliefs. Now look at the second person. They decline the offer by simply saying, "No thanks, I am not a smoker." It is such a small difference in phrasing, but an absolutely monumental shift in identity. They no longer identify as someone who smokes. Smoking is a thing of their past, not their present. Because here's the thing. Your identity emerges directly out of your habits. You aren't born with preset beliefs. Every single belief, including the ones you hold about yourself, is learned and conditioned through experience. Tiny actions aren't just tedious tasks on our to-do list. They are undeniable pieces of evidence proving your new identity to yourself. When you write one single sentence, you're casting a vote for, "I am a writer." When you play one chord on the piano, you cast a vote for, "I'm a musician." You don't need a unanimous vote to win an election. You just need a majority. You just need to build a quiet, steady system of small, daily votes. Section 3. The Invisible Architecture. So, how do we actually guarantee those tiny votes get cast? How do we bypass our chronic, everyday lack of motivation? Look, if you wait until you simply feel like it to do the hard thing, you're going to be waiting forever. Motivation is a very fickle friend. Instead, we use a highly effective strategy called habit stacking. Basically, you anchor a new behavior seamlessly onto a deeply ingrained daily action. Let's say you want to read more. Don't just tell yourself, I'll read sometime today. That is way too vague. Instead, look at a habit you execute flawlessly every single day, like pouring your morning coffee. You stack the new habit right on top of it. After I pour my morning coffee, I will read one page of a book. Not a whole chapter, just one page. By linking the new habit to an old automatic one, you use the momentum of your existing routine to carry you effortlessly right into the new one.
Section 4. Architecting your daily environment.
Now, pulling back the curtain reveals something even more surprising. Your physical space, not your inner willpower, often dictates whether you succeed or fail. We love to think we are in complete control, but our environment is constantly cueing our behavior. Think about this contrast. Let's say you want to learn to play the guitar. If your guitar is zipped up in its case, hidden away in the dark back corner of your closet, that is a high-friction environment. The sheer physical effort required just to start practicing becomes an invisible barrier. Your brain will look at that closed door and say, too much work. But what if you take that guitar out of the case and place it on a stand right next to your bed? Well, that's a low-friction environment. You've removed the barriers. Your room design is literally making the choice for you before you even wake up. You see it, you grab it, you play. There's a great saying for this. Environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. Think about it. The people with the absolute best self-control are typically the ones who need to use it the least. It is vastly easier to practice self-restraint when you don't have to use it very often. True success really isn't about white-knuckling your way through temptation all day. It's merely about placing yourself in a space where the right choice is naturally the easiest choice to make. Section 5. Dismantling bad habits. Building good habits is only half the battle. If we want to truly transform, we have to look at the dark side of the equation. We must look at our bad habits, the infinite scrolling on social media, the junk food, the endless procrastination. And we need to dismantle them systematically. We do this by flipping the rules of habit creation totally upside down. Essentially, we weaponize friction against ourselves. Instead of making a cue obvious, you make it completely invisible. Instead of making it attractive, you reframe your mindset to highlight the downsides. Instead of making the action easy, you crank up the friction and make it incredibly difficult to execute. And finally, instead of a satisfying reward, you ensure there is an immediate, unsatisfying consequence. Let's look at a highly relatable example. Say you come home from work utterly exhausted, and your default habit is to collapse on the couch and watch 3 solid hours of television, even though you desperately want to be working on a side hustle. Willpower is not going to save you here. Instead, make it difficult. When you finish watching TV on Sunday night, go ahead and actually unplug the television from the wall. Take the batteries out of the remote and put that remote in a drawer in an entirely different room. The very next day, when you collapse on that couch, the TV won't just turn on with the press of a button. You actually have to get up, find the batteries, plug the heavy cord back in. You have added so much friction that your tired brain might just say, you know what, it's just not worth the effort. And suddenly, the urge is completely broken. Section 6. Winning the long game. By designing our environment and manipulating all this friction, we perfectly set ourselves up to win the long game. Because true change doesn't happen in some flashy movie montage. It maps out in the quiet, and yes, sometimes boring, timeline of long-term consistency. On day 1, a new habit requires deliberate, conscious effort. It feels totally foreign and frankly exhausting. But by day 30, you're experiencing growing momentum. The pathways in your brain are actively thickening, and that habit stacking is working its magic. And by day 365, it has completely transformed from a painful daily struggle into an automated reflex. It's no longer something you do. It is simply a core part of who you are. It's an effortless identity. But I have to warn you, there is a massive trap hidden right there between day 1 and day 30. It's called the Valley of Disappointment. And this right here is where most people quit. You go to the gym for 2 weeks and see literally 0 changes in the mirror. You diligently save money for a whole month and still feel completely broke. We naturally expect our progress to be linear, but in the beginning, the results of your 1% improvements are entirely invisible. Think of it like an ice cube sitting on a table in a 25-degree room. You start heating the room to 26, 27, 28, 29 degrees, and nothing happens. The ice cube just sits there. But at 32 degrees, it finally begins to melt. The work you did at 26 degrees wasn't wasted at all. It was just being stored. You have to trust the invisible architecture you've built and push through that valley. It's time to drop the exhausting, anxiety-inducing obsession with massive goal setting. Now, goals are good for setting a direction, sure, but systems are best for actually making progress. A goal is winning the championship. The system is how your team practices every single day. If you completely ignored your goal and focused only on your daily system, would you still succeed? The answer is a resounding yes. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
In this explainer, we've explored the myth of massive action, the incredible math of small changes, the immense power of shifting your identity, and the invisible hand of your environment. You now possess the blueprint to systematically dismantle the habits holding you back and seamlessly integrate the ones that will propel you forward. The architecture is completely in your hands, but remember, it all starts with the smallest possible step, just a single, tiny vote for your future self. So taking a hard look at your life right now, in this very moment, what will your 1% be today?